Well, hello everyone. On this adventure, a friend of mine and myself are heading out to Colorado and Utah to do some hiking and camping. The drive there, once we got to Colorado, was obviously so beautiful. Our first stop was Durango, where we would rent a cabin, walk around the town, and explore the mountains above to watch the sunset. It was very beautiful. The next day, we headed towards Silverton to hike up to almost 13,000 feet at the Columbine Lake Trail. The first part of the trail was all kinds of switchbacks. It was nice to have the switchbacks to get up this mountain, but they were still very hard for people from Indiana.
We made it out of the forest. Now I'm pretty sure we're heading that way. I think. That looks like the trail. I believe we're gonna go. Let's see. Up here, across that and over that little pass right there.
After we got out of the forest, our climb was pretty much straight up at that point. It's hard to tell in video, but it is very steep. Also, you can see it's pretty hazy for the start of our hike. That will change later. Once we got to the pass and started walking the ridgeline, the hike got much easier all the way to the lake. Also, at this point, the views were wide open. Once we came over the ridge to see the view of the lake, we were pretty excited. We were hoping to go a little bit further to this abandoned mine, but at this point we were wiped. So we just sat down near the lake and enjoyed a nice lunch. On our way back down, the haze had lifted somewhat, so the views were even more beautiful than they were on the hike up. Once we got to the bottom of the mountain, our plan was to go find some dispersed camping. But Chris and I were both too tired to even think about setting up a camp somewhere. So we drove into Silverton and got us a nice hotel. It was really cool because it used to be an old saloon. We went and had dinner that night and went to bed early. We woke up the next morning, went and had some breakfast and some coffee, and explored around the town just a little bit. After exploring, we decided it was time to head out and head to our next town. The drive from Silverton to Ouray is probably my favorite part of the $1 Million Highway. I wasn't able to get too many pics because it's a very dangerous road. But when we got to Ouray, we stopped and explored and had a bite to eat for lunch. After lunch, we headed on to Telluride. We explored around the town just a little bit, and then we took the gondola ride up to Mountain Village. In Mountain Village, we had dinner and explored around, and then shortly after that, we decided it was time to go find camp. So we took off out of town, hoping to find a place to camp for the night, which we did. It was a great sight and had great views, and we even got to see a deer greet us in the morning. The next morning, we packed up camp and headed to Utah. This was the first time either one of us had been there, so we were very excited. First thing we had to do was find a place to camp. We weren't exactly sure where it was going to be, but we had a good idea. Once we got to our first possibility of camping, it was wide open. No one else was there, so we was like, this is going to be a perfect night. The site was beautiful. We did have a little storm come through right after we got there, but after the storm passed, it was a beautiful night. We got to hike up to the top of camp and take some video and just check out how beautiful our scenery was around us. It was a perfect night. We sat down later and had dinner, and then we went to bed early once again.
hiked on like boulders before like this?
Nope.
This is awesome.
We had camped really close to the Canyonlands National Park Needles District, so we got up in the morning really early. We packed up our tent and we headed our way into the park. This was one of the most spectacular hikes that I've had to date. I just can't wait for you to see the amazing beauty that we saw throughout this day. As the trail continued throughout the day, we were in awe at what it was throwing at us. We were hiking up and down boulders, we were hiking in and out of canyons. It was a very interactive hike, and we were enjoying it thoroughly. We were sad that this hike had to end, but it was a butt kicker for sure. After an amazing hike in Canyonlands National Park, it was time to head out to our next destination, Moab, Utah. Once we got into Moab, we checked into our Airbnb. It was a nice Airbnb that had a community kitchen. I got to meet people from all over the world there. Had a great conversation with many people. Our last hike for the trip was at Deadhorse Point State Park. Although it was our last, it was definitely just as beautiful as the rest of our hikes. We actually hiked this one later in the evening so we could finish up with a nice sunset. This was an amazing trip, and I can't thank all of you enough for following along. Until next time.